Joe T, what's up, man? How are you?
Good morning, guys, and I hope you're still stuffed from the Thanksgiving weekend and Victory Monday. God, you got to love it, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
It was a fun couple days there.
Had me getting up early these last few days, Joe.
How was your
working off some of
Thanksgiving,
that.
Joe? Do you cook?
No, I do not. I do not want to. I do not want to upset the festive nature of Thanksgiving. I eat. I do a lot of that. As a matter of fact, we had one session at my sister-in-law's, another one at my brother-in-law's. So by the time the evening rolled around, I was basically rolling around. To be perfectly honest with you, I mean, I try not to pig out, but I did, and it was a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving. And of course, the Irish won; they beat USC, and now we're waiting to find out what the seeding is for the college playoffs as well. So everything. The teams that I had an opportunity to be associated with and play for are doing very well at this point. I'm excited.
That's got to be awesome.
There you go.
And I think you hope Notre Dame gets that 5 seed, right?
Yeah, it looks like it could be. We're going to host. The question is, who are we going to get? And I think that decision is going to be made December 8th. I already made plans to head out to South Bend for that one, and then I'll just have to look at the calendar and have us play well over the next 4 weeks and see how things are going to go, and maybe be able to make plans for a playoff game in Washington too.
I love that.
That'd be great.
That would be awesome.
It's a good time to be a Joe T franchise. So let's talk about yesterday's Washington win, because they really needed that. And before we get to kind of the X's and O's and your expertise at the quarterback position, particularly, what does it say about a team when their back's against the wall and they show up?
I think it speaks volumes for the players that have been chosen. This is where the term character gets applied. I asked Coach Gibbs many, many years ago, after he won his third, getting ready for his third championship, when we were going to Minnesota to play, and I was in television. I said, what makes a championship player? What makes a championship team? He said, character, intelligence, and ability. And I said, come on, Coach, everybody wants those three things. He says, no, Joe, that's the order in which I look for in players. Character first, because we're going to go through some tough times, and we need the players to stay focused, okay? Intelligence, because, look at the wristbands of these quarterbacks. First of all, I could never play again because I could never see them. I'd be like that commercial with Dan Marino where I need my glasses to be able to see them. And then the last thing is how good are you? What's your ability? There are a lot of people in this league that have ability. But what Dan has been able to do in Washington, he's been able to get his football team. He brings in the right kind of people in the beginning. We talked about this. You brought in the veterans to be able to have that positive influence, that character influence. You see the young guys doing a great job of buying into exactly what they need to. And then you see people not making mistakes, not fumbling a kickoff. When you make mistakes, you're going to lose. I mean, the statistics bear it out. Over 2, it's hard to win. And the Titans did that yesterday. They just, a snap from center, a fumbled kickoff. You try to get back in a game, and those things happen. But I think it's all about the character of this football team and the character of the staff and leadership.
Yeah, I thought so too. Now, I didn't say it as eloquently as you did, but I think when you've got a team that's lost 3 in a row, including a really dreadful loss to Dallas at home, coming off 10 days rest, and the bye week's on the horizon, it's fairly easy to kind of just pack it in there and see what you got. Instead, they came out and completely took the fight to Tennessee, and this thing was a wrap early. It was 28-0. Yeah. It was impressive, and I think yesterday might have been Jayden, B-Rob, Terry. A lot of people were great on the field. I think DQ and Adam Peters deserve a lot of credit for that for what they built yesterday.
Absolutely, that's really what I talked about. Is both Adam and DQ have done, a really good job. Dan obviously managing the team, Adam putting it together, finding the pieces. I don't know what Lattimore's status is going to be coming forward, but you made the right kind of roster moves. You added the right kind of people, and I think the guys sense it. When we played, and Mitch knows this very well, when we played, the locker room basically controlled the game. They controlled the team. What took place in the locker room is you had leadership there that could take care of any problem or situation. coaches didn't need to intervene. You know, honest to goodness, this is the God's honest truth. I played for Coach Gibbs for six years. I remember him walking through our locker room maybe 5 times. He would come right out of the coach's locker room, go right through the equipment room, right out to the field. The locker room was ours. And this is what I sensed. I sensed that this football team owns their locker room. Mm-hmm. They hold each other accountable. And to me, you know, there's nothing like that. There's absolutely nothing like that. And the veteran leadership is what makes a world of difference that way.
See, Joe, that's why I respect Dan so much, because he allows the players to be who they are. And I think a lot of times, a lot of coaches want to just make everybody be the same way, and they kind of screw a team up. Because when players are who they are, the leaders are going to naturally be leaders. And the guys are going to follow that. Because in the locker, you're right, in the locker room, you shut down all the BS immediately.
Yep. You know, and you know what's funny, Mitch? The thing is I've always described our 82 team, our 83 team, the 84, the 85. I always described particularly the 82 and 83 teams as a group of characters with character.
Uh-huh.
Joe allowed us exactly what you just said. He allowed us to be us. I mean, you look at these groups of guys. We go to play Miami in the Super Bowl. The defensive backs are dressed in battle fatigues. Alvin and Virgil and Charlie go out to Disneyland to see the Smurfs. John Riggins is wearing top hats and tails to a Friday night party. I mean, it was like it was just a collection of characters.
Yeah, characters with characters. I like that.
That's what and I believe that's what this football team has become. You know, everybody is an individual. Everybody has their own little thing. But yet when it comes to playing on Sunday, they got everybody's back. And there's no bickering. You don't see them yelling at each other on the sidelines and, fighting early in the year, but what the heck, they've settled down.
Yeah. We were talking with our friend Joe Theismann here after Washington puts an absolute beat down on the Tennessee Titans, 42-19. Joe, I said going into the season, and I don't know if you'll agree with this, but my thought was the most important thing Washington can get out of this year is clarity at the quarterback position. You draft Jayden, number 2 overall. I think he's provided that. I think we've seen enough from Jayden that, if the creek don't rise, he's the quarterback the next 10, 15 years, ideally. And
I hope so.
I just think he's been fantastic. I thought he was really, really good yesterday. I'm curious now through 13 games and finally at the bye week, what you think of Jayden's rookie year.
Well, before we go there, let me just say this. The game against the Steelers, the game against the Eagles, and what happened against the Cowboys were character builders. Now, you're looking at the Steelers going to be a playoff team. The Eagles probably playing some of the best football between Detroit and the NFC. Mm-hmm. We had our little blip, but we're playing pretty good too. So to me, those were a sample of what we're going to face when we make the playoffs. Notice I didn't say if, I said when.
I like that.
But what I really have appreciated so much about Jayden and the conversations that you and I and we've had, really, you can't talk about the quarterback position unless you mention the coordinator as well, because all we are is the completion of the thought process and the plays that are called. And just to go another round, I think that was the biggest problem in New York with Daniel Jones. Everybody wants to blame Daniel Jones, but they don't hold the coach who's calling the plays responsible, nor the organization for letting what could be an MVP leave the room. But I think in Jayden's case, each week the smile gets bigger. Have you noticed that when the close-up, he's talking to the defensive guy. In the beginning of the year, he wouldn't go up to a defensive player and have a conversation with him. I mean, his personality is so calming, I think, for the football team, and it projects through the television. Mm-hmm. And to watch him continue to grow and make decisions with the ball in his hand, that is the number one most important thing for a quarterback to do. It's what decisions are you going to make with the ball in your hand? You see guys, you see a lot of guys trying to throw these 50-50 balls. We don't throw many 50-50 balls. Terry gets open. Guys get open. And we get the completions. I know it's sort of old-fashioned football, but that seems to work pretty well for us.
Oh, yeah.
Certainly.
It does.
I mean, he had 3 touchdowns through the air and 1 on the ground yesterday. And, Pretty remarkable. And I think the moment that kind of changed things for Jayden, he did give Terry a chance on a 50-50 ball. It's not like he won't do it, but it's not the baseline of their offense. Going back to that Bengals game in the back corner of the end zone to Terry, that really won them that game.
Mm-hmm.
I also think, Joe, what did you think of the offensive line yesterday? I thought that was a really impressive effort.
Well, we've talked about it. I think that, again, we talked early in the year about the newness everywhere. The offensive line certainly was one place. But now that they've played a lot together, in past years, to be honest with you, we've had a lot of guys we've had centers get hurt. We've had tackles get hurt. We've had we've had to shuffle people all over the place. Now they have some stability, which leads to the communication, which allows, Brian to be able to run the football. Our running game. Look at the importance of the running game.
Yeah.
That's where it's, I had a conversation this morning with my buddies over at the gas station. And because I get a Victory Monday donuts. If we win on Monday, if we win, I get them donuts. So we're talking, and one of the things that Dave said, he said, hey, we can, because he's a huge fan. He said, Joe, it's the offensive line.
Yeah.
The job that they do. And I think back, when I had the good fortune to play, I know Mitch the same way. Those were the reasons we did. They helped the running game. You look at the Eagles last night. Saquon's incredible. But you look at some of the holes that were created. You look at the way they stay with the blocks. You look at the way they get to the next level. That's the way our guys are playing. And that to me is very exciting going forward. Health is going to be a big key over these next 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Keep everybody healthy. Have that opportunity to be able to continue to play together without having to insert someone in or move a guard to the center position. Like I say, the acquisitions that were made in the offseason, the center position, the most understated position in all of football is the value of the center to be able to control the line of scrimmage, especially with a young quarterback.
I've said to people, Joe, I like to watch the ball from the side and watch the football and watch who gets knocked back into whether the defensive secondary or back into the backfield of the offense. And if you watch that, if your team, your line is doing it, you're winning the football game.
And you look at the guys hustling downfield.
Yeah.
One of the things we see now is if somebody starts to get tackled by a linebacker or safeties, then the O-line starts pushing them for another 3 or 4 yards.
Yep.
It's almost like you want to give the offensive line, okay, B-Rob picked up 8 yards and the offensive line gets credit for 3. You start giving kudos to the O-line for that extra 3 yards.
Joe, we're talking with Joe Theismann here, Redskins Super Bowl winning quarterback. Obviously, you played with some great receivers throughout your career. What did you think of Terry McLaurin's performance yesterday? And what seemed pretty clear to me was a concerted effort to go to Terry early, often, get him involved.
Well, we know a few weeks ago, Terry got one target, I think it was, and I don't think Cliff's going to let that happen again. He's too valuable with the ball in his hands. I've said this many times before. His ability to catch the ball in tough situations reminds me of Santana Moss. When Santana had an incredible catch range for a guy that wasn't that tall, and a toughness. If the ball was going to get around him, he was going to catch it. Terry is the most overlooked best receiver in football. Yeah, we know about the Jeffersons, we know about the Evans, but nobody ever talks in that same vein about Terry, and they should, because he's, if not equal, better than anybody that plays this position. Because when he gets called on to make a play, he makes a play, and he plays with a chip on his shoulder. He plays with an attitude. He's tough. He'll block. If you want to go look for a receiver in college football, see if you can find another Terry McLaurin. If you can find him, you got yourself a real chance to have some success.
Totally.
I like that.
Totally. And kind of going forward, Joe, they got the bye, obviously. Then after that, you got 4 games. They're 8-5 now. If the season ended today, and it doesn't, but they'd be going on the road to play Philly in the wild card opener. But what do you think it does for this team? We were kind of kicking this idea around earlier. They haven't won 10. They haven't won 10 games since Robert's rookie year in 2012. They haven't won a playoff game.
It's been a long time since they won 8. I mean, 8 was, sort of, we made it to the playoffs going 8-8.
Yeah.
I think I feel the same way before we get to the Eagles situation. And I never like to project the what ifs because you never know what's going to happen in the next 4 weeks. But the thing is I said this before the Cowboy game. Everybody said, "Oh, we were the biggest favorites on that weekend a couple weeks ago, 10 points." I said that is so wrong. The offense for the Cowboys isn't, they're not lighting the world on fire. But if they don't make mistakes, you don't make mistakes in this game, you got a real chance. A good chance. Their defense, I think, has sort of tried to do the best they possibly could, and Micah Parsons is a wrecker.
Yes.
And somebody said, the Cowboys. I said, listen, that is a game you're going to have to play 60 minutes of football. You can't feel good about where you are. You're going to have to play your rear end off. I think the Saints going to New Orleans to play the Saints down there is a similar situation, especially coming off of a bye. I remember when we won the Super Bowl, we didn't have a week off. We had 9 games that year. We played every team in the playoffs was a wild card. So the season ended. Here comes the next game, Super Bowl. You get into a rhythm. I think they found their rhythm again yesterday. Now you got 2 weeks off. So now you have to be able to find your rhythm early in the game against the Saints. It can't be, let's idle the machine through the first quarter. It's got to be the same kind of intensity coming out early that it did there. And then, of course, you're going to get another look at the Eagles right after that.
Yep.
It's not unusual for us to play in this division the teams 3 times. We did it with the Cowboys a couple of times. I think, Mitch, you might have done it as well.
Yeah. The thing for me, I don't like they need a bye, but I don't like the fact that it came after yesterday because I don't want to lose that rhythm they had yesterday.
I wish it would have come earlier in the season.
Yeah.
That's the teams that get buys in weeks 7, 8, 9. It's you get that break after training camp, then the season starts. Then you get about 8 games in, 7 games in. Then you get a chance to get your team healthy. More about getting your team healthy, and then you get that week off, and then now you go weeks 11, 12. Then you start to go towards the end of the season. But I think this comes at a good time for our football team because you get tired, you get beat up after this many weeks. And, the way I look at this football team, I don't think this affects them that way. Some teams you look at and say they may lose momentum. I think this team is just finding its momentum again.
I'm with you there, Joe. I think, going into this season, nobody thought they'd be 8-5 at the bye and have the quarterback situation so locked up. There's so much positive that 2 things can be true. Whatever happens from here on out is gravy, but you can also start to have some expectations for, all right, let's try to win a playoff game and really leave a stamp on the season.
Well, to me, it starts this way. Number one, let's play good, solid football over these next 4 weeks. Don't know what the outcomes are going to be. Obviously, the Falcons and the Cowboys we finished with. Falcons will be battling for a playoff spot. The Cowboys are battling for respect. The Eagles are battling to stay, a game behind the Detroit Lions. The Saints are battling as well. So everybody's got something at stake in these games, and that's the important thing. It isn't like it's like they're not sitting down players getting ready for something. We're getting ready for the Saints. We're getting ready for the next week that we have to play. Forget about the Eagles. Forget about the Falcons. Forget about the Cowboys. They mean nothing at this point. And that's really the focus I think that Dan's going to present to this football team. Hey, look, we put ourselves in position.
Mm-hmm.
We saw what it was like when we started to lose the position. Let's keep in mind what's at stake here and keep doing the things we're doing. And like I said, in Jalen's case, I absolutely love Jayden. I love the way he plays the game. I mean, it is so much fun to watch him play the game. But he played that way at LSU.
Yep.
And to people I talked to at Arizona State, this is who Jayden Daniels is, was, and I believe always will be. An excellent decision maker, throws the ball with accuracy, is smart. One play yesterday tells me about his intelligence when it comes to running with the ball. He ran to the sidelines one time, and I tell young guys all the time, run through the sidelines. Don't think that the sideline is going to save you from somebody throwing at your knees.
Mm-hmm.
I saw him run to the sideline. Somebody threw at his knees, and he gave the old little hop, skip, step and kept going. And I thought, he gets it.
Mm-hmm.
He's got it. He knows that the most important job he has is being healthy enough to stay on that field, to practice and play and learn and lead this football team. He understands that. And a lot of guys don't.
Yeah.
A lot of guys just, they either don't have the talent or the mentality or whatever it might be. He does. And I love it.
I think it's the coaches on the other teams are realizing that too, because I was told by this coach, it said, man, the dude never panics. So when you got a quarterback that doesn't panic, you got something good there.
Absolutely. You know, his movements remind me of Jalen Hurts a little bit. He doesn't look like when he's avoiding trouble, he doesn't look like he's panicked and running somewhere. He looks like he's sort of gliding and smooth moving.
Yep.
I like
There's
it.
a term for you. Smooth moving.
Smooth moving. Hey, Joe T.
That's that old Joe T, right? Smooth moving.
Yeah, right. I was a little bit more frantic, to be honest with you.
Joe, thank you for the time, man.
Appreciate you,
glad
brother.
you had a great Thanksgiving, and maybe we'll catch up before Christmas.
I look forward to it, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.